Yo,
Quinn,
yeah,
hang on, let me pause this YouTube video. So, dude, how you doing?
I'm exhausted, man.
Well, you've been totally killing it. I was looking at that latest Mr. Leaky video that you just put up this morning. First of all,
Yeah.
I saw you put up a lot of them, and then I went to watch them, but most of them are gone. Did they go to Patreon, or where? What did you do with those?
Oh, they went to private because this shit is dangerous,
Oh,
right?
but can I see them somehow? Can people see them or no?
They will in a couple days. I'm trying to form. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm formulating the codes that are in this book from this guy,
Uh huh.
right?
Uh huh.
And with these codes, I don't have a lot of time with as I find out what the system does and what the characters are and what the different properties are. I don't have a lot of time to leave the videos online if people don't massively share them because of the system watching me.
I see.
So with me decoding this book and pulling out the old personalities of the system they built in, pulling out the Higgs boson shit, pulling
Well,
out
what?
the
Yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I've heard of that Higgs boson particle, and I saw how you connected it to the Mr. Leaky book. I was thinking, I don't know if you are feeling up to this or have the time, but it is almost worthy of doing another only on Patreon show tonight at 9:30 if you want to.
or we can if you want.
I would like to because you got into some stuff there that I have a lot of questions about, and also, so I couldn't see the comments because I guess you blocked this guy, and I was catching it on the replay. I didn't make it to the live.
The guy?
Ron's room or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so where you had said that that guy was in Rahula Club for months posting about George Webb.
And you.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He was posting articles on each one of your videos. As you guys would post videos, he would use my Rahula Club as a log to log what you guys were doing and talking about and keep a tracking of all your videos. But he would never talk to me or talk about my research. But
What was his
yes,
purpose in doing that?
his purpose wasn't distracting people from looking at my research and to keep people looking at George Webb.
Yeah, see, okay, so see, that's what I wanted to talk about because you started your video on your Quinn Michaels YouTube channel this morning saying, like, all right, I'm about to blow your mind. And I was like, all right. But then you did. Because the other thing, you did. Because in addition to the Higgs boson particle, so somebody wrote to me yesterday saying that what we had covered on last Saturday's show, where you said that the Mr. Leakey was predicting, what's the guy's name who went to Antarctica?
Oh, Admiral Byrd.
Right. So this person who wrote to me said that no, Byrd went to Antarctica first in 1920 something, so Quinn is wrong. And I was like, well, I don't know.
He did, but the missions were classified. Okay, so Admiral Byrd went to Antarctica on several pre-missions previous to World War I and World War II, but one was where he went to a signals monitoring station and stayed out there for months by himself and almost died.
Wow.
And so the previous ones weren't public knowledge.
Well, and so, okay, so this guy's seeing it now in 2018 on Wikipedia. All right, yeah, it's been declassified because it was 100 years ago, but at that time in 1937, Mr. Leakey, how would he know, you're still saying?
Yeah, exactly. How would he
Got
know?
it,
Because
got
Admiral Byrd was still active in the military. He was planning the
it.
mission. He was recruiting.
Dude, I get so many messages from people who are trying to tell me Quinn is wrong, Quinn is crazy, Quinn is this. So okay, so that part is good.
Yeah,
So
and the author worked for naval intelligence, so he would have had information about Admiral Byrd ahead of time because the Haldane guy worked with submarines
yeah,
for the United Kingdom Naval Intelligence, so he would have had classified information about Byrd from the time
okay.
because he was working with submarines, and
Okay.
Byrd would, you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I mean that's important. So then, okay, the other thing that you did. So all right, I'm sure you haven't had time to look at this, but yesterday I did an interview with the parents of some of the Navy SEAL support team that was killed in the crash of Extortion 17. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking to Mary and Charlie Strange, and also to Doug and Sean Hamburger. Their sons, Michael Strange and Patrick Hamburger, were killed in that helicopter crash. Now, so I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but I'm way less focused on being like, oh, I'm the guy who broke the this or that story and like rushing places to break stories. I'm more interested in what is this thing from 7 years ago that we haven't heard enough about, and really trying to like dig into it, right? So Michael Strange was 25 when he was killed 7 years ago, okay? And people should definitely, including you, if you get the chance, watch that video to get some of the details out of it. But here's the most important thing. So his stepmother, Mary, said in the video yesterday that when the parents were called by the government to this meeting where they explained, you know, the official story of what happened to this helicopter, they were given this folder that had like a 20 to 30 page printed document and then like a CD-ROM, what Mary described as a disc. I presume she meant a CD-ROM or a DVD, some optical disc, okay? So the printed pages, 20 to 30 pages, totally illegible. Like it looked like it was photocopied at my elementary school or something with like an A.B. Dick machine where it's all smeared and you can't read it and everything, right? So what Mary said, what she described in the video yesterday, was that she put this disc in the computer and some kind of like game or puzzle came up, right? And she had to like click on blocks and they were popping like balloons. And she said she spent 6 hours dealing with this thing. And then when she solved the puzzle, 1,300 pages of documentation came up that I failed to dig in with the Stranges as to what the major contents of those documents are, but I'm going to follow up with them and I'm going to do that. But she said it was 1,300 pages of detailed explanations of what happened with the crash of Extortion 17 that made her angry, made her sad. And Charlie, Michael's father, met with President Trump and gave him these 1,300 pages, okay? So the thing that occurred to me this morning, well, actually last night when I watched the interview back, because it's sometimes hard for me to absorb everything when I'm doing the interview. And that interview, here's the really crazy part, Quinn. So I had 5 cameras there because I wanted close-ups of each of the parents and blah, 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 blah. So at the moment that Mary starts describing how she decoded this puzzle, this coded message, all 5 cameras failed. All 5 failed. And there is a bug in my switcher software that when I hit go live, knocks out the cameras sometimes. But what I've realized from talking to you is that I'm kind of good at pattern recognition. Not maybe in the same way as you or other people, but like that's how I've been effective at troubleshooting computer networks and camera systems and whatever. I can do things again and again and identify these patterns. Like when I was in London with Trish and we got dirt boxed in front of Julian Assange's place. I don't like to, like yesterday I was like, I don't think the NSA knocked out my cameras. This is just a coincidence. But with the dirt box thing, I was all over England, and that was the only place that we had LTE, was outside Julian Assange's place. The plan that I bought, the international phone plan, didn't even include LTE. They must have been blasting my phone with an LTE signal that, was outside of the AT&T plan that I had paid for, whatever. But I don't like to jump to these, I'm getting sabotaged by the deep state conclusions, unless I feel there's very, very strong evidence. And yesterday at the Strange's house, I was like, it's probably just a mistake. But last night when I watched the video back and it cut out at the exact second that she started talking about decoding this message, I was thinking, I got to call the Stranges after I get off with you and ask them how many of the other parents got this compact disc. The question in my mind is, was one of Michael's friends, who's also an NSA code breaker kind of guy, because Michael wasn't a Navy SEAL. He was technical support staff in some way for the Navy SEALs, high-level NSA.
He was naval intelligence. Okay, so the intelligence sector, it breaks up into different groups. You have naval intelligence, and then you have like CIA intelligence. Most people aren't aware of the naval intelligence sector, which is like much higher up than even the CIA.
Wow. Jack Prosovic is naval intelligence, or was at some point.
So naval intelligence, that's where the clock is at the Naval Observatory. So naval intelligence is the highest intelligence authority next to the Department of Energy.
Wow. So, higher than the CIA?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they manage the time machine.
That's
right.
The one that you're talking about, Mr. Leaky. And I know that sounds crazy when people hear you say that, but this is what Enrico Fermi wanted to do with the particle accelerators, to open portals.
By naval intelligence because of maritime and the water requirements and the navigation. And so the Navy, and this is where Haldane comes in, because the Naval Intelligence of England was where Haldane worked, and he was working with, Alan Turing. Haldane was actually buddy with Alan Turing.
Wow.
The AI guy. Like they actually worked on early artificial intelligence concepts together.
Turing test, right.
Yeah, and so Haldane was a member of the Communist Party. It was confirmed, but also he was he was working with naval intelligence in Britain at the same time as his friend Mr. Wiener, which is the sausage next time.
Oh.
His best friend was an MIT professor named Wiener, who came up with his sausage. It's the Wiener sausage, is a physics concept out of MIT from the sky to a time.
Oh my God! We've got to do another show tonight, Quinn. There's so much stuff.
Yeah, I figured out what the sausage next time was.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, so your video this morning got me thinking about all these encoded messages, and it made me think about when I was watching last night, because I just went back last night to be like, what the hell caused that technical problem on the interview with the families, because I was so preoccupied by that.
You cried, you got angry. It was horrible.
So let's just back up a second. So they give you this illegible paper document.
That's the investigation findings.
That's just a couple pages.
That's his findings,
This is maybe 20 or 30 pages that can't be read. And then they give you a compact disc, not with Microsoft Word documents and JPEG photos, but some sort of cryptic game that you need to decode in order to be able to get this trove of information that they're telling you that they've burned.
Yeah, they...
That I was just... I had to figure it out. And then it didn't occur to me until the playback that it happened exactly when Mary is talking about decoding this message. So the question that I have is, did every one of the 38 families get this folder with a disk in it? Or did some NSA, naval intelligence, whatever friend of Michael's slip that in there, hoping that somebody else in the family, even though Mary is not blood relative of Michael, it's amazing that she figured this out. Maybe someone put it in there hoping they would decode the message. And it got me all just thinking about coded messages. And then your guy, that guy who came into your room this morning with Ron, whatever his name is, Ron's room, always talking about George Webb. Well, I mean, I try to not watch George anymore because he just annoys me so much and is so boring and often saying untrue things. But someone sent me a video that George did last night where he was talking about me. And it occurred to me that George and Dave and all these guys are always talking in coded messages. And George's code, you see, is when he's being overtly super nice, like, oh, Jason did a great interview with Andre Taggart, there's something encoded in there, because what he wants to present to the public is, oh, look, George is this nice guy who's being magnanimous and he's promoting Jason. Like, I don't need George's promotion. Frankly, the less I'm associated with George, the better. But what he encoded in there is he's talking about the Maersk-Memphis issue and saying that he wasn't even involved in the call by the time the tweet went out. So Dave, George's brother, who has this, fraudulent lawsuit that he's brought against me, when Robert David Steele's lawsuit essentially failed because I kind of forced Robert David Steele's lawyer to admit that Robert David Steele has committed felony charity fraud. What's that?
Did RDS drop his suit?
No, he didn't drop it. Even better, his lawyer responded to my response to the suit saying that Robert never had an office in New York, Robert never stepped foot in New York, and he only received $2,700 in charitable contributions from New York. So my response to the court to that document was, hey, thanks for that inadvertent confession of charity fraud, but obviously Mr. Steele and his lawyer don't understand that the violation has nothing to do with the location of the solicitor or the amount received. It's the act of soliciting $250,000 in charitable contributions in the state of New York over the internet without being registered with the New York State Bureau of Charities. So that's all now in court record, and Robert David Steele's lawyer has given Robert David Steele a tremendous amount of criminal exposure. If the court decides to look into that.
But here's how they're doing it, what you're bringing up. So, like...
Sorry, let me just finish this thought real quick, okay? So when Robert David Steele, because this happened weeks ago, and I was going to make a video about it, but some people get annoyed when I talk about Robert David Steele or whatever. So I've been busy with other things. But towards the end, Dave Swigert started putting in all these declarations into the lawsuit. On the surface, he's an uninterested third party. But I believe, and have for a long time, that George and Dave and Robert David Steele and Manuel Chavez and Dean Fougere and all these guys, Unirock, they're all working together. Because the other day, when I put out that segment from our Only on Patreon stream with Kennedy, where you're showing the Discord messages from Manuel Chavez, where it seems to be evidence that he is detailing a cryptocurrency money laundering scheme. We put that video out, and 5 minutes later, they did a live stream with Unirock, Dave Acton in the comments. They got the whole party together to like push out their message that what you and I are saying is false. They didn't present any countermanding evidence. They just criticized you and I in these really vague terms because they like to try to create a message and make you think that a lot of people are listening to it. So when Robert David Steele's lawsuit started to collapse, Dave comes in with like 7 declarations, and he made false statements in court documents. He said he's never communicated with Robert David Steele or an agent of Robert David Steele, yet Robert David Steele's lawyer was sending me the documents from, I'll get that later. Robert David Steele's lawyer was sending me the documents from Dave Swigert. So obviously he's communicating with agents of Robert David Steele if he's communicating with his lawyer. So the other thing that happened right after that is Dave initiated his own civil lawsuit claiming that I created the Port of Charleston bomb hoax when all of the information related to that came from George and Marshall Richards, who was Mr. Hudson, Deep Uranium. So what seems to be the case is that George and Deep Uranium and that guy Doug, who you had the Discord message where Doug said he's the one who closed down the port, there's this crew of people that are all affiliated with George and Robert David Steele and Dave Acton and Swigert who are pushing this notion that I created the bomb hoax and that even after I determined that the Coast Guard knew what was going on, I sent out a tweet and that was cyber terrorism. I mean, I was making an honest effort to alert the public of what I thought was a danger. And that's the reason why the FBI investigated that, and I didn't do anything wrong. You know, deliberately calling in a bomb hoax and mobilizing authorities to suit your own need, like T.J. Miller, that actor who was drunk and called the cops and tried to get a woman on a train in trouble for having a bomb who never did. That's a malicious bomb hoax. Saying, hey, I have this piece of information and that piece of information that causes me to believe there might be danger, and telling the authorities, that's acting, out of an abundance of caution. And, if you make a mistake in doing that, I don't think they throw you in jail because it would dissuade people from reporting possible danger to the public. So George, this is the last thought. The key thing that George put out in his video where he's talking about how great an interviewer I am and he's going to now sue H.A. Goodman, who hasn't said anything about George in over a year. The key message that George put out is that he had nothing to do with the tweet. He's trying to drop another little breadcrumb to give some sort of boost to his brother's idiotic lawsuit. And that's the coded part of George's message. George is always and has always been malicious towards me. But his most effective way to do that is to appear as this, affable, gregarious, nice guy who's always complimenting me. His compliments are always backhanded and always have an encoded component.
They do. They do. And the reason why is it goes back to Hal Dane, the guy who wrote the book My Friend Mr. Leaky. Okay? There was another book that was written later on in life after Hal Dane passed. It's called Comrade Hal Dane is Too Busy to Go on Holiday, The Genius Who Spied for Stalin. So there's other people out there that were aware of this spy ring that's operating based on Hal Dane principles that were outlined in the book My Friend Mr. Leaky.
So let's do this, Quinn, okay?
Yeah.
So at 3 o'clock, I've got Larry Nichols coming on.
Okay.
At 7 o'clock, I've got Jim Breslow and a new witness from the Las Vegas shooting coming on. But let's you and I do an Only on Patreon show at 9:30, And I'll call the strangers before then, and I'll put out this video so that people can go to the Quinn Michaels YouTube channel and watch what you did this morning about Mr. Leaky. And if they want to join, patreon.com/Rahula Club or patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth. They can catch up on all the stuff we've been doing on the Patreon only streams, and then we'll do another stream tonight at 9:30 on Patreon, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do that Patreon only stream, and I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you later tonight, but plan on we'll do it at 9:30, okay? 9:30 Eastern. 9:30 Eastern.
And we'll recap because I actually have prints of top secret documents from then that illustrate that Haldane was a known Russian spy. They just didn't have the evidence to get him.
The documents formerly known as prints. Awesome.
Right. So these are top secret documents from like the United States in the 1950s. So they were well aware of Haldane. It's just he was so smart they couldn't catch him. But they knew, they just couldn't catch him.
Amazing.
So
all right.
So
listen, let me run. I got to call back Larry here, and we'll do all this stuff tonight at 9:30.
Awesome. See you guys tonight.
Take it easy.
Later.